Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. If you guys didn't know, the next major update, Dance of Dragons, is coming out very soon, and as such, we have the dev server already available for this update, which means that in this video, I'll be showing you each and every vehicle that will be coming to the Dance of Dragons update that's currently available on the dev server. Now bear in mind, some vehicles that are coming to the update might not be on the dev server currently, and some of the stats that you see here might also change, so you do want to bear that in mind. Little disclaimer before we begin. But with that said, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. The A10C, this will be coming to the US Air Force's tech tree, as you can see all the way down here after the A7E, but before the AP Plus. And this is pretty much just going to be an advanced variant of what we currently have in game with the A10A. Now, this is something I'm not a big fan of, but they're doing it. As you can see, this is the new secondary weapons view. I'm not a fan of this at all, personally. I mean, it's really cool in that it shows the weapons from underneath the vehicle, and also kind of how much they weigh and all that. Like, that's kind of cool, but ultimately it's just not really for me, because this, in my opinion, should take up as much of the screen as it did before. It's just a little bit, I don't know, for me. Any hoodles, as you can see here, it can have access to 4 AIM-9Ls or 4 AIM-9Ms, which are IRCCM, which is fantastic. And you also have the Lightning II targeting pod with GBU-12s, tons of them, quite literally. And you also have, as you can see, laser-guided rockets, or as they call them here, missiles, as well as AGM-65Ls and Gs, and also the classic 65Ds, so really cool. Otherwise, same airframe, same engines, all of that. Now, otherwise, the US is getting the F-111F Aardvark, which is really awesome in my opinion. This will have access to up to 6 AIM-9Ls, as well as the PAVE TAC targeting pod, and as you can see, lots and lots of ordnance, big old bombs. So this should be pretty damn good in my opinion. It's going to be able to carry dumb bombs as kind of its main thing, but of course you can also equip like this IR guided bombs, which is awesome, as well as of course laser guided, which is also pretty damn cool. And you also have your IR guided AGM-65Gs. And on top of this, we do have access to the AV-8B. This will be a pack premium vehicle, and basically, as you can see here, the AV-8B Plus and the AV-8B, these are very similar vehicles, except that the AV-8B Plus is much weaker versus air. It only has access to 4 AIM-9Ls, whereas the AV-8B Plus has access to AIM-120s, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, AIM-9Ms. Otherwise, this actually has access to, as you can see, GNSS guidance. Those are GPS guided bombs. We are getting those in War Thunder, which is awesome in my opinion, and will allow you actually to drop numerous bombs at once, and they will track basically to their target. You also, of course, have your GBU-16s, your Lightning II pods, your Mighty Mouse, but you also have AGM-65E2s and 4 AGM-65Gs, so this should be a very capable CAS aircraft. But that said, let's go ahead and speed this thing up. The first few vehicles always take the longest in my opinion. For ground, you have the T1 E190. This is basically a T1 E1, but instead of the 76mm, you have a 90mm, and this also has access to the M63 shell, which is a semi-armor piercing high explosive incendiary, and this also lacks the stabilizer that the standard T1 E1 has. There will be no helicopters, and there will be a new top-level battleship, the USS Tennessee 1943, so this will have a ton, as you can see, quite literally tons of anti-aircraft weapons, 10 for quad-mount 40mm Bofors, and 43 single-mount 20mm Ehrlichens. Crazy in my opinion, but that's what they're getting. And of course, with Coastal, they're not getting anything else. Now, when it comes to Germany, they are only getting one thing, if I'm not mistaken, and if I miss anything, let me know in the comments below. Just genuinely let me know, because this is, honestly, this is one of the more stressful types of videos I get, because I have to be extremely knowledgeable on something that I only saw pretty much a few minutes earlier. So that said, with the Puma, this is pretty much the Schützenpanzer Puma VJTF, and this is basically a standard Puma, except with Spike ATGM. So pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, nothing really all too crazy. It still has access to the PMC 287, and that's pretty much it. It's just Puma plus Spike, and you get the Schützenpanzer Puma VJTF. No helicopters going to Germany. Now, when it comes to aircraft, they are getting the FFA P-16, which I personally really like. Now, this will have access to the Siddeley Sapphire ASS A7, which is a stronger engine. So this actually had capabilities of also having the 6 engine, which would have around 20 or 25% less thrust compared to this. So this is a better engine, so I'm really happy that we're getting this variant of the P-16. This also has access to, oddly enough, AIM-9Bs or the FLZ LWF-63s, which I'm not sure whether they're gold here, but these are basically just AIM-9Bs. So kind of interesting that this has these. I'm not entirely sure if it should in real life. Let me know. But otherwise, this actually will have a pretty damn powerful CAS loadout, which I'm really excited for, with quite literally tons of ordnance that this can carry. So really stoked for it. This is a Swiss vehicle, and it is a prototype vehicle. So hopefully we can get the Swiss subtech tree in the next major update. That would be really cool, but we'll have to wait and see. And of course, this is a pack premium rank 6, at least currently rank 6. Blue Water, they are getting the SMS Derflinge, which is pretty cool. 1916 mod, probably going to be a little bit better than the Von der Tann. Has bigger cannons, but that's pretty much it. Coastal Fleet, I don't believe Germany's getting anything unless I'm missing it, but I don't believe so. Again, unless it's not on the dev server. Now for Russia, they are getting the ZSU-23-4M2. This is basically just the Shilka, but without a radar. That's it. So this lacks the ability to be able to track enemy aircraft, but instead you pretty much just can go around wiping out lightly armored vehicles. So this could be very interesting to see exactly how it's implemented in game, but currently 7.3 BR. As far as I could tell, no Russian helicopters, but Russia is going to be getting, or the USSR will be getting, a very cool new strike aircraft. We have the Su-24M, which I'm stoked about. A lot of people have been waiting for this, myself included. This thing will be very powerful, as you can see here. Has access only to 4 R60Ms, which kind of sucks, but does have access to the KAB-500S, can carry up to 7 of them. Not sure if that's accurate, maybe it should be 8, but it can carry up to 7 of these, and these are, again, GPS guided. You also have 1,500 kilogram TV guided bombs, 1,500 kilogram laser guided bombs. This thing will be a menace versus ground targets. I am really excited for this thing to be coming to game. And also, if you equip these, it's not going to show up because I don't quite have these unlocked yet, but if you equip these, the 3 23mm cannons, so these are basically each dual cannon, so really you're getting 6 cannons here. It has over 100 kilograms of explosive or of burst mass, which is just crazy per second. Now for the Blue Water Fleet, they are getting the Ishmael, which is pretty interesting. Again, being that Russia didn't really have too crazy of a, I guess, navy for a long time, this is a project. This is not a vehicle that I believe was ever fully created, but it's a very flat vehicle. And then of course, no coastal fleet for them. Now when it comes to Great Britain, when it comes to their ground, they are getting the Storma AD, which is basically, it's got the 25mm, if I'm not mistaken, the 25 of the LAB that you have in the American ground tech tree, but you also get Stinger. So this should be a pretty effective vehicle. It does have, hopefully, an effective vehicle. It does have access to a radar dish up top, and you can get the Stinger K, which is pretty cool as well. So a slight upgrade on that, even though Stingers aren't really particularly the best. It's also pretty usable, at least in my opinion, because really there's nothing between this and the HVM. We'll have to see if this keeps its 10.0 BR rating. They are not getting any helicopters, as you could see. And when it comes to aircraft, as I said before, they are at least as I think I said before, Great Britain Air Tech Tree will be getting the Aardvark, though of course this is going to be flying under the flag of the Australians. Now, this will be a little bit different. It can carry fewer, at least based on what this is showing, fewer AIM-9Ls and possibly just fewer amounts of ordnance overall, but it does have paved tack, which is pretty nice. Now, this will also have more countermeasures with up to 240, which is also very nice. Whereas at least currently, the Americans only have, I believe, 52 countermeasures for their F111F Aardvark, so a pretty big amount of additional countermeasures with the C variant. Though again, you get fewer AIM-9Ls. Nothing for the Blue Water Fleet, and also nothing for the Coastal Fleet for Great Britain. Now, when it comes to Japan, they are getting something kind of interesting, in my opinion. I'm not sure if it's going to be any good, but they are getting a new squadron vehicle, the RCVP. This will basically have a 30mm Bushmaster cannon. If I'm not mistaken, the same cannon as what you can see on the Bradley. It will have, or as what you can see on the CV90135DK, I believe, or something similar at least. And it has the MK258 APF SDS, so nothing all too crazy good, but it does have a laser warning receiver, which is nice. It will be very mobile, so there is a good chance that you will be able to actually put this thing in quite a good spot to be able to flank enemies, and you can do so at speed. As you can see, look at that engine power. Actually, this game for some reason automatically defaults to arcade settings, but even still, that engine power is phenomenal, and it has that crazy commander sight going out the back, which is awesome. Then they, of course, have no helicopters. I don't know if there are any helicopters actually coming in this update, come to think about it, and I don't believe that they are getting any sort of aircraft as well, nor will Japan be getting any Blue Water Fleet vehicles, unfortunately. Maybe this upcoming year we'll be getting things like the Bismarck, like the Iowa, possibly the Yamato. We'll have to wait and see. But we do have the PT-802, which will be coming to the Coastal Fleet. I'm sure so many people are going to be excited about that. And when I say people, I mean two, because that's probably about it. Otherwise, for China, we have the Antelope, and this is kind of a very funky looking vehicle in that, as you can see, it's just a truck with a missile launcher on the back of it, which is just, in my opinion, really funny. These are actually pretty decent missiles, so hey, who knows, maybe this thing will be really good. These are IR guided, so we'll have to wait and see. But apparently it's not even bulletproof glass like most of it, it's just armored glass, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then, of course, you have the Khalid, which I'm actually really stoked. So you currently have the MBT 2000, which I believe is flown under the Chinese flag, and basically the Al Khalid is a Pakistani variant of it. And this is just slightly different in that, I'm not mistaken, it has ERA. I think this will function as ERA. As you can see, the ERA is not even modeled properly yet. This is, again, the dev server. It will be back here, so it's going to be a little bit different in how it will work, but ultimately this is pretty much the MBT 2000 with the DTC 10125 being a very, very powerful APF SDS, especially for 10.7 BR. And I wouldn't be too surprised, and correct me if I'm wrong, because as a content creator I just get to test drive all these things for free, which is really, really fun. But the one issue is I don't know if this is a pack vehicle or if this is a Golden Eagle vehicle. I would assume it's a Golden Eagle vehicle, but again, correct me if I'm wrong down below. And of course, they do not get any helicopters. Now, when it comes to aircraft, the Chinese are actually eating very well this update. They're getting the JF-17 and the J-10A, two really, really relatively modern fighters, if I'm not mistaken, both made by the late 90s at the earliest or at the latest, and like maybe even in the 2000s is when they were first implemented. As you can see here with the J-10A, we have access to the PL-12s, which is great, PL-5Es, which is awesome. I mean, this thing will be pretty effective versus aircraft. And also the squadron vehicle, JF-17, which I'm really excited for. This will have access to SD-10As, which I believe are our darters, correct me if I'm wrong. And then, of course, you also have the PL-5E2s, which are all aspect variants, improved variants of the PL-5s that you can see on other vehicles. This will also have the Hasselpod, which I'm not entirely sure how good that will be, but that's pretty cool. And there will be a new type of weapon here. At least there should be. I remember there was some sort of a, you know what, I don't think it's currently in here yet, but basically it's an air-to-surface missile, and this will be the first vehicle to be able to access it. So I don't believe that they're showing it quite yet in the dev server, but this will have the capability, at least per the dev blog about it, to be able to carry air-to-surface missiles. And then, of course, Italy is not eating. Well, in fact, actually, it's not eating at all this update for Army, which really, really sucks. They are getting a tornado. So I hope you guys enjoy that. The Tornado IDS, man, holy cow. 11.3 BR, and it's only got 2 AIM-9Ls. That's it, you know, and a bunch of dumb bombs. Like, it's a cool, like, I really like this vehicle in that it's a cool vehicle. Like, it looks awesome, all that. This is actually a really nice camouflage, but its capabilities are extremely limited. Oh my goodness. Like, this is what Italy gets, whereas China gets the JF-17 as a squadron vehicle, while Italy doesn't have a single squadron vehicle yet. China now has 2, one in tank, one in aircraft, and Italy is, of course, not getting any sort of coastal or blue water vehicles. Now, France will be getting the CV9035NL, which is kind of interesting because this is a Swedish vehicle, and I'm not entirely sure why this thing is still at this, like, why is it at 10.0 BR? We're going to have to wait and see. This thing is, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much the same as what we have in the Swedish Ground Forces tech tree, and it's not a good vehicle at all. You know, for what it is. I actually did a review on it, the Swedish variant of this that came out in the last major update. As you can see, 10.0 BR, and it's got 35mm APF SDS, or APDS FS is how it's listed, 135 or 131 millimeters of armor pen at max, 200 rounds per minute. Not really stellar at all. So we'll have to see exactly how this thing performs, but if there's any indication here with the CV9035DK, which is again pretty much identical to it, at least insofar as what I could tell, the French version is not going to be any good. I have very little faith in this thing, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll do a review on that around the time that it comes out. There are no French helicopters, of course. As far as I could tell, no French aircraft and no French blue water. However, there is going to be a closed beta test for the French coastal fleet, which is kind of cool, and this will also have naval rockets, the SS-11s, which, if I'm not mistaken, those are manually guided rockets, but still pretty cool, especially for a 4.0 BR ship. Now going to Sweden, they are getting their first heavy tank in the KV-1 M1942. I'm actually really surprised that this is 5.0 BR, but I think that its armor is a bit better than I initially estimated. So it does have thicker armor than I initially thought, so I guess it makes some level of sense to be 5.0 BR, but again, I mean, this is a heavy vehicle. It doesn't have access, or it does have access to APCR, but that's it. 125 millimeters of armor pen at max with the APCR shell, which is a terrible shell. You only use those in emergencies. And of course, you also have the BR-350B, which is but it's still not that great. I mean, this is pretty much a 75 millimeter cannon version of the it's pretty much ballistically very similar to the American 75 is what I'm trying to say. And you know, at 5.0 BR, we'll have to wait and see how good it is, but still pretty cool. Around 3,000 Golden Eagles. Kind of surprised I didn't get that as a test drive, but it doesn't really matter to me. Then, of course, they're not getting any helicopters, which is kind of expected, and as far as I could tell, no aircraft. Now, Israel is going to be getting a new vehicle. Nothing all too crazy, but still kind of cool. The Tehran 6, which I believe is a T-62, basically modified to be Israeli, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's not going to get anything too crazy powerful, but it does have access to the 3BM3 and 4, which are okay. It doesn't have access to any composites as far as I remember. The T-62 is pretty much kind of like the T-55 Plus, if that makes any sense, and then the T-64 is where we start getting into more modern vehicles with composites. So this just barely lacks it, but still a pretty cool vehicle all in all, especially with those LMGs up top. It has 4 machine guns in total. Then, of course, Israel's not going to be getting any helicopters, but they will be getting the F-16C Barak 2, and this will have access to AIM-120s. Yes, that's right. This will have access to AIM-120s, whereas the D variant, the Barak 2, will have access. This has access to Darby missiles. So it's kind of like a slightly different variant, pretty much. This is a 2-seater as well, so I wouldn't be too surprised if this is maybe slightly faster. Tough to say exactly based on the stat cards, but the Barak 2 might perform slightly better, but I doubt it's anything all too noticeable to your average player. But that being said, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I'm pretty excited for this update. There's a few questionable decisions in it, like the ranking, for example, and the pricing of that prototype Swiss aircraft. But again, we'll have to see exactly how it performs. This will be a $59.99 pack premium, so there's a lot riding on it. But either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.